Hey everyone, welcome back to the Superhero Show. Chris has returned.
Bonjour.
Bit of that, bit of French. Recently you interviewed Shane Black for his new movie, The Nice Guys.
Awesome new movie.
Yeah, and you spoke to him about you know, Iron Man and the Mandarin, and that just kind of started an office conversation about how much we like Iron Man 3, but we know that it's probably is it fair to say maybe the most divisive of all the Marvel movies?
Yeah, well, I feel, for me, from a personal standpoint, it is, because I wrote the review and I got so much grief underneath it for liking the film. And it still seems to come up when we write stories about the film. Every now and then something will come up, a bit of news, or someone giving a quote about it, or if we talk about it on here, we do seem to still get lots of feedback from people either loving it or really hating it.
So we thought today we're going to address that issue and talk about. So it's kind of hard because we're both people who really like that movie. Yeah. But we're going to try and go through the points and understand why it is so divisive. Because I did a lot of reading before coming in for the show, the kind of the recurring points of why people dislike it. Yeah, and
to be honest, I did the same actually, and I'm seeing the anti-point of view a little bit better now than maybe I did before I read a lot of the comments.
Cool. So should we start with the biggie?
Yeah.
The biggie that a lot of people think is the reveal about the Mandarin, that in fact Ben Kingsley is not the genuine Mandarin.
I didn't get that from the movie.
He's Trevor Slattery,
he is
a British thespian from Croydon, your neck of the woods.
He acted in Croydon, yeah, he did a great Hamlet in Croydon.
And the Mandarin all along was kind of a bit of a smokescreen really for Adrian Killian. What's it called?
Aldrich Killian.
Aldrich Killian.
Killian Aldrich? I don't know.
Whatever, Guy Pearce's character. All smart screen for his character, who's actually the Mandarin. Yeah. Now, I remember watching this in the cinema with you, and I actually loved that reveal, because all through the production of Iron Man, in the first movie, they kind of seed Mandarin mythology, but all on the talking point is like, how do you do this character? How do you do it in a way that is culturally sensitive? Yeah. And they kind of sidestep that entire issue by having this kind of funny reveal mid-movie, which transforms Ben Kingsley into this bumbling comedy character. But I can see why some people, I never thought people were huge, like, loyal fans of that character so much as they were post that reveal, where they felt cheated that this big Marvel villain.
I think those that see him as Iron Man's true nemesis were upset, and I can kind of understand that. Someone in one of the comments said it would be like adapting Harry Potter and then halfway through the second film saying, oh, Voldemort isn't really the villain and he's kind of a hoax. And it's like, yeah, I think I would probably feel some frustration over that. I agree, there was the fear going into it that it would be this racial stereotype. But I think I can see where some people are coming from, where they felt like they'd actually, you say sidestepped it, but yeah, I think they'd created quite an interesting version of the character that wasn't a racial stereotype, necessarily. And then a lot of people seem to have said in the comments that it would have been a better film if they'd carried through with that, because what they'd set up was really interesting. But equally, that wasn't what they were going for. So it's a difficult one, really. If I was attached to that character, I think I would be quite upset.
Because I guess what the movie implies at the end, even though we'll get onto it, they kind of changed that in a one-shot, is that Guy Pearce's character was effectively the Mandarin all along, just going by a different name. So this character, you know, and he was a nemesis of Tony for years, because you see in the first scene that he has this kind of vendetta against him, which he's cultivated over years and years and years. But I get it, obviously that's not the Mandarin.
And he's kind of a villain of Tony's own creation, which I thought was an interesting aspect to the film, which then kind of they did again in Age of Ultron, and I thought it was less interesting. If he keeps creating his own demons, it becomes a bit boring. But yeah, I spoke to Shane Black about it, and his answer was quite interesting. So should we cut to that?
Well, we may have done our job a bit too well in a way, because we succeeded in actually having a surprise in the middle of a big summer movie where you normally know virtually everything about it before you go in. And when I say we did our job too well, it means some of the fans felt fooled. They felt, I think, that they'd been led down one path and then sold a bill of goods, you know. It's hard, because I want to please the fans. Aside from the fact that I'm a people pleaser normally, I'm like, please, really? Oh, here, try this. Do you like this? And I'll keep trying to please people. But in this case, I thought, and we all thought, that it was just a very interesting and layered decision to take the Mandarin. We had this think tank, AIM, from the comics and say, okay, well, what if this was a cobbled together sort of boogeyman that they'd researched? They actually, had data spit out about the various things people would find frightening, and they would concoct from this sort of straw man terrorist, this paper tiger, and then push him on the internet. And I thought that felt modern, it felt interesting, it felt textured. I thought to myself, hey, Whiplash in Iron Man 2, he doesn't look like Whiplash in the comic. People like it when you trade up and kind of shake it up a little. Yeah, and the truth is, people did. I mean, we made a lot of money with the movie, but there is a hardcore niche of fandom that was genuinely disappointed, that they wanted to see their version. And for that, I feel bad. I still like the choice you made.
So yeah, it's I think it's interesting. He does feel bad about it, but yet later on in the interview, he does say to me he wouldn't go back if he could go back. He wouldn't change it.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's slightly repentant, but then he also does stand by his decision. Like he thinks it was still a good one in terms of having a summer movie with a genuine surprise in it. Is actually quite an irregular thing these days.
It did stir up a nest of vipers in the comments, though. I've printed out some of my favourites. Someone says, it wasn't just the Mandarin thing, it was everything. The forced humour with the kid, the one joke with the crap-ass suit that keeps coming apart, Pepper saving the day, no AC/DC. The whole thing was just an epic mess.
No AC/DC. Oh, not an Iron Man movie for me now.
Another one. The Mandarin is one of the biggest antagonists in Marvel Comics, and he was reduced to a pathetic drunk actor in a compound. The twist didn't bother me. It was squandering what was an awesome character in the movie. He developed the Mandarin as a real threat and then wasted it. Someone else says, no, we were pissed because you could have literally pulled this switcheroo with any other character. The Mandarin is basically Iron Man's arch nemesis, and you decided that would be a good character to pull this gimmick with and have zero backlash from fans. What a fool. Yeah, a lot of people saying similar things. They gave Mandarin a pretty good modern update as the shadowy terrorist and not the Asian stereotype. It was working. That's why the twist was a letdown. And someone else says, this is one of those situations where if they stuck with it and had a focus on creating a sinister villain, it still would have worked out better than the twist. I've always appreciated them trying something different, and it's still an otherwise good film. So some people like the film, but the twist just didn't really work for them. And yeah, my favourite one is his pretentious logic is so frustrating. That's like saying, we set up too good of a lunch with our friends, then we need them in the nuts. They should have appreciated the knee. Please stay away from future superhero projects. So,
just trying to think through that analogy.
Yeah.
Why are you kneeing people at lunch?
Too good of a lunch.
Anyway,
yeah.
So the main talking point obviously is the Mandarin, but there's other things like the kid comes up quite frequently.
Yeah.
The suit, like he's out the suit for a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
Arguably the best action sequence of the movie is the barrel of monkeys.
Yep.
And people feel, again, cheated. I think this is the thing, they feel like Shane Black cheats you a lot because he wrong foots you. Because in that sequence, Iron Man saves everyone, and then it's revealed that he's actually remote controlling the suit. But I actually like that because I feel like that is his power. Like anyone, there's a comment I read on a site that was kind of taking Iron Man 3 apart, and it says at that point when I realised that he wasn't in the suit, it made me realise that anyone could control Iron Man. It's like, yeah, but anyone can get in the suit. Like Rhodey gets in a suit that he's built from and becomes this hero. The thing that's Tony Stark's superpower is the fact that he's smarter and can build this thing and can control it and he can build an interface.
And he can think faster than anyone else. That's funny, I'd never even considered that as a criticism of that scene. I just think that's all part of his ingenuity.
Yeah.
And the film does take him back to basics. He loses home, he loses his suit, and he's stuck on his own, and he has to start from scratch again, as he did in the first movie. And I think that's what I liked about it. Equally, the stuff with the kid. You know, sometimes we criticise the Marvel movies for being too similar, and all kind of sort of variations on the same theme. Whereas this one, I felt Shane Black put his stamp on it. He kept with what they want, and yet he brought his own little bit of magic to it, and that's what the kid is. The kid allows it to become a buddy movie, which we know is what Shane Black is good at. Yeah. Obviously, he could have done it with Rhodey, but he chose to go down a different...
and he brings in Rhodey in the final sequence, because he can't have the kid running around shooting people.
Yeah. But, I think this is why it's one of my favourite ones, because it's a director putting his stamp on it in a really interesting way, and yet not deviating too far from what's gone before and what comes after.
It's an interesting counterpoint to the first movie, which is such a great adaptation of a comic book that it is Iron Man. He looks like Iron Man. He does lots of Iron Man looking things. And this one, the problem with the Iron Man first one is like when he's in the suit towards the end, like when he fights Obadiah Stane, it's just two CGI characters kind of beating each other up, and it doesn't really know what its ending was. Whereas this movie, what I like at the finale is that he keeps getting out of the suit, so you get closer to Tony in a way. He's more vulnerable, but also it's a great showcase of his genius.
Yep.
Because that end sequence, I think, is brilliant because he keeps us like when he's like jumping in and out of these suits, you still get the human emotion rather than just getting that close up of his face that you get in every other movie.
Yeah, and you know, I've said before in here, I'm not Downey Jr.'s biggest fan. I find him a little bit annoying, and part of that is the smugness and the mugging he does as Tony Stark, which is fine. That's part of the character, but it grates on me a little bit. Whereas this, I thought, was the first film that really tapped into something a bit deeper and a bit more thoughtful. He's suffering from post-traumatic stress in this, from the events of Avengers, and I thought it made him a much more interesting and likeable character. And I thought that was developed a bit more in Civil War this summer as well. Like, I think he's becoming more interesting as they go along.
Cool. So I don't think we've settled it. I think it's fair to say, and I think this is a debate that's going to probably exist forever.
Well, I expect everyone to tell us we're wrong in the comments, as usual.
It's fine. Do it respectfully. But yeah, if you want to let us know what you think of Iron Man 3 and why you think some people have a problem with it or why you don't like it, it's not a bad thing not to like it. Let us know, supershow@ign.com.
Indeed. Do you want to go first,
yeah,
Daniel?
I'll go first. This is from Griffnix. Hello, Griffnix. I stopped reading comics for the most part of a year into the New 52 era, since it is an expensive hobby. Yeah, it's really expensive. But a DC Rebirth may bring me back. The Watchmen stuff, love it or hate it, it is smart, and they made it feel natural and not forced. We'll have to wait a few years to see how it all plays out. Absolutely.
Yeah, really interesting. I've got one from Martin Dawson. Who's talking about what Fox should do with the X-Men franchise. He says, I would like to suggest Deadpool Herald Galactus for Deadpool 3. This was, in my opinion, one of Deadpool's best comics today and would really up the ante for the character. When Deadpool meets Galactus, he could call him out for not being a cloud anymore. I think this would be an amazing movie. What do you guys think?
Yeah, imagine if Fox started using Deadpool as a mouthpiece to criticise all their flops. Yeah. Imagine it. Oh, that'd be great. Him and the Fantastic Four.
What about
putting him into
the next Deadpool movie? They bring in Tony Kebbell playing himself, like slagging off like he did this week.
Interview, cheer up.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Good. Micah Brown from Indianapolis. Apparently, there is a rumour that Channing Tatum is being considered for a DCEU casting because he has recently started following Zack Snyder and Justice League cast on Twitter.
Is this a thing? Is this how casting happens? Do you have to stop following DC and start
you know what the real
up?
telltale sign is?
What?
If he follows them, unfollows them, and follows them again to like just give him the little prompt.
Remember me?
He's favouring all his tweets, and then slides into the DMs. This implies he has switched his allegiance from Marvel to DC, leaving his role as Gambit. 1. What are your thoughts on this? Bullet points here. What are your thoughts on this? 2. Disregarding the legitimacy of the rumour, what character should Tatum be cast as? I say Shazam or Hal Jordan. My favourite would be Shazam. So, 1. What are your thoughts on this?
Madness. I don't think that's how it works.
He's probably in a contract for Gambit.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant about the Twitter thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like just because
he's on the contract full of people on Twitter.
No, I mean he's on the contract for Gambit, surely. Like
yeah, you would imagine so.
That doesn't get him out of a contract.
No.
2, disregarding the legitimacy of the rumour. What character should he be? I think he'd be great as Shazam.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever disregard the legitimacy of a rumour.
We've got a whole business based on it.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good Shazam. Imagine him and Dwayne Johnson going at it. Ooh. And fighting. Yeah, I think that would be... But he'd be a good Hal Jordan as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm shouting now. Tim Newton-House...
he's had a few.
Tim Newton-House writes in and says, he's talking about spoilers in trailers, which is something we've been upset about this year. And he asks, what don't you want spoiled by a trailer? And then we get bullet points.
High five, come on.
Thanks for the bullet points. Number 1, he's saying what he doesn't want to be spoiled. He says, 1, I don't want to know if Jason Todd's Robin in the upcoming solo Batman movie. Number 2, I don't want to know who Star-Lord's father is, although knowing he'll be in Guardians 2 is great. 3, if Steppenwolf is the main villain in Justice League, I don't want to know if Darkseid will also be making an appearance. 4, I don't want to know or to what extent Bucky will be in Black Panther. It's sometimes hard to know what you don't want to know, but are there any possible or likely characters or events that you prefer to be surprised by in the cinema? Well, my opinion on this is everything. I hate knowing anything going into a movie, which makes this job hard because we're supposed to know, or we discuss stuff anyway and speculate. And doing stuff like Rewind Theatres, I hate doing them because I just love to go in blind if I possibly can.
I've called so many things in Rewind Theatre. Obviously got lots of misses as well. But there's so many times done in Rewind Theatre, and I think Gav and I did the one for Civil War.
Yeah.
And we're going through it frame by frame. There's a bit of the UN, and I was like, but that's when T'Chaka dies. Right.
A spoiler alert if you haven't seen Civil War.
If you're watching this and you've not seen Civil War, get out.
Just saying. Yeah, maybe we should do a compilation of all the things we got right and all the things we got wrong. The wrong would be more interesting,
Probably,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
But yeah, for me, I think I agree with all the ones that you've said. I think Bucky, the only one, number 4, Bucky and Black Panther. I think if he is in it, then it'll be.
I just want him to be in the freezer for the whole thing. Like those tempura prawns I got in at New Year, and they've well gone off, but I can't use them.
Particularly, I'm with you on the Star-Lord father thing. I'd love to just find that out as I watch the film. Whether that'll be possible, I don't know. And it's probably Kurt Russell, isn't it?
Spoiler.
Sorry, kid.
This is Al Patrickson. Hey guys, what's up? I just wanted to get your thoughts on some specific movie news for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Bullet points. Brie Larson from Room potentially soon to be cast as Captain Marvel herself, according to Variety and The Hollywood Reporter.
You haven't seen Room yet, have you?
No.
Okay. Yes, a million times. When you see Room, you'll understand it as well because she's brave and she's just right. She'd be
I've got
brilliant.
a long haul flight on Saturday. Room, not a good choice.
It's pretty tough going.
But I'll be in a confined space.
It's pretty tough going.
Okay.
It depends if you want to feel really like you've been through the ringer.
I'd like that on a long haul flight.
Go for it. Yeah.
While eating a small bread roll.
I can't imagine anyone else in the role now. They've said it as well, which is annoying.
What do you think of the full cast announced for Thor Ragnarok? I'm excited to see Jeff Goldblum as Grandmaster. Well, that cast is nuts now.
Yeah, I mean...
Kate Blanchett as well, and Carl Urban.
Have you ever met Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah, might have recently met Jeff Goldblum.
Well, we met Jeff Goldblum this week. Unfortunately, we were doing this kind of weird stunt with him, and so we couldn't actually talk to him about Thor. We didn't really have the time. So look out for that on the site. But he was Jeff Goldblum.
He's everything you'd want Jeff Goldblum to be. He's basically Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. We're going to find out if we can use some of the outtakes, because he said some weird stuff.
Yeah.
But not about Thor, so I don't know why I'm saying it here. But yeah, it's
cool.
Independence Day related, so look out for it in the next few days on the site. Finally, Justin Hymas writes in about Jake Gyllenhaal. So were you talking about him last week?
Yes. Somebody was asking, like, would he ever get a big kind of superhero role?
Justin says, after you guys were talking about who Jake could play in a DC movie, I thought, what about Two-Face? Just picture him in Nightcrawler as creepy and confident, and then bang, he snaps and shows his other side. Plus, I think he'd look good with half his face burnt off.
He's got a very nice face. Half of it burnt off, yeah. He'd have half a nice face.
And on that crispy bombshell...
Thank you for watching the Superhero Show. We'll see you next week.